Welcome everybody to today's lesson. We're going to be talking about the OODA loop. Now this is going to be part of the Motorcycle Situational Awareness Part 2. If you missed Part 1 was last Saturday and we talked about the white, yellow, orange, red, and black stages of situational awareness and how all those things coincide with motorcycle riding. Now what we're talking about is how to put it all into a decision-making process. So that is what we're going to be covering today and how to apply that to motorcycling. So this is what the OODA loop is: observe, orient, decide, and act. Now it sounds a lot like search, evaluate, execute. That is something you learn in the MSF. This is a fundamental skill that you should know how to do at every single moment of the day. So you can be doing this sitting at home, you can be doing this riding your motorcycle, you can be doing this sitting in the passenger seat, whatever it is, you automatically do it subconsciously. Now let's turn it into a conscious effort so that way we know what we're doing and we can get better and better and better. So this is what it looks like in a circle. So it's the OODA loop, okay? So observe, orient, decide, and then act, okay? What I like to do is jump straight into the orient. And if you notice, I'm going to go back one slide. The very top is observe, but orientation is very, very, very important because if you don't know where you're at in space and time, how are you observing anything? So I could be staring at the ground and observe something, but what is more important? Staring at the ground or looking for traffic, looking for hazards. So I like to position myself in an orientation of this is what I'm doing, I'm sitting in traffic, I'm in this lane position, this is where I'm at, okay? So now from here I need to observe where I'm going, okay? So to orient is to think. So we are thinking now, we're actively thinking. So now we're jumping into observe. If you notice that the first bullet point says search in yellow. So we're actively searching, we're looking, we're observing, but the reason why it's in yellow is because that is the yellow stage that we're currently in. So when we're riding, we're doing something, we know where we are, we're sitting in the bike, we're in lane position 2, now we're searching for things, we're observing for things, we're in the yellow stage. We're still in a good mood, we're not paranoid, we're not anything. We're just relaxed and looking for hazards so that we can maintain a safe path of travel. Okay, if you notice the E, the second E is orange and the third E is red, that also coincides with the orange stage and red stage. So in the observe situation, we are literally looking for stuff. We're trying to take in as much information as possible. And when I talk to you guys about observing and trying to find things like the tires rotating or the tires going over the line or a backup light in a parking lot is a good observation. All these different things is that we're constantly moving in space. So once we pass, let's say the vehicle that is wanting to back up, you see the lights, we pass that, now we have to start observing again in our new environment. So we're changed our environment by passing the hazard. Now we're moving into a new environment where we need to take in new information. So this is where that loop really plays into everything. We're going to learn more about the loop system, but this is where it's very important. Observe, you're going to spend a lot of time in the observe situation and you have to pick out what is pertinent to what we are doing here as motorcycle riders, okay? So when we change our environment, we're opening ourselves up to new information, that is what's going to keep us safe. We do not want to keep staying in this closed-minded system where we pass this obstacle and now there's no more obstacles. That is a closed-minded system and you do not want that. You want to continuously observe, continuously orient where you are in space and time, okay? So now we're going to move on to decide. Now if you notice that it's in orange, it's the orange stage. So we're actually deciding something. So when we're observing something in the yellow stage and something comes out at us, an anomaly or something out of the ordinary, now that's really grasping our attention, and now we're in the orange stage where we're like, okay, what is that? We are evaluating it. What is that a hazard? Is that going to be a problem for me in my path of travel because I'm orientated? I know where I am. So is that over there 2 streets away going to be a problem for me? No, it's not, because it's not within our orientation. So that's why orientation is very important. During this time, you're going to have to make a decision. Okay, you're going to either decide to act on something or you're going to decide not to act on something. This is where we start doing a mental simulation of, okay, I see a car wanting to pull out of a T intersection or a parking lot onto the main road into my path of travel. Now, my mental simulation is going to say, okay, is there anybody to my left of me or to my right of me? Is there an escape path here? Is there plenty of following distance to apply the brakes so that I can let this person in and still not get hit by anybody behind me? What's going to happen if they stop in the middle and then I have to swerve to the left? what is it that I have to do? You start doing this hypothesis, you start experimenting with some things. You start to see these different paths to travel. And I put down here in parentheses is that my motorcycle after action reviews are mental simulations, and that is exactly why I make these AARs, is so that we can visualize it and see it and then do our own version of a mental simulation of like, okay, what if I did this? What if I did that? Okay, if this person did this, how do I do that? That way you can start doing it without having to put yourself in that situation. This is why I absolutely love the fact that people are posting their crash and close call videos, and it's allowing us to learn so that we don't have to put ourselves in that situation. So now we're gonna move into the ACT portion. This is the 4th stage, and you're physically doing something. This is where it's very important. You're actively doing something. ACT, actively. Okay, you're doing it. Hopefully that goes into your brain. So it's the red portion. This is the red stage where it's like, okay, when from orange of evaluating, okay, is this something gonna happen? Now red stage is when, okay, we have to do something consciously. In the black stage, we start to do stuff that's subconscious and in a panic, like a panic breaking. So you never wanna get to the black stage. What you wanna do is if you have to act, you wanna be in the red stage where you're conscious and aware, your heart rate is up, and then you're gonna do something that you've trained yourself to do, okay? So this is where training the physical skills really come into play. You can prevent a lot of issues and a lot of problems and never get to the red stage or never get to the ACT stage in terms of emergency maneuvers. You'll never have to get there if you practice and practice and practice your situational awareness. And you'll actually start noticing it while you're riding. But if you notice that this is red for the execution, but you also act in a way of, okay, there's something coming out. It's not necessarily an invasive maneuver, but you kind of move from one position, you know, lane position 2 or to lane position 1 or somewhere to where you just kind of move over a little bit to avoid a pothole. It's not necessarily going to be an evasive maneuver in an emergency. It's just going to be a normal action that you typically would do while riding. But we're talking more so into preventing crashes and close calls. So this is going to be in that red stage of I have to do something or I'm going to crash and die. Okay, so this is where you actively do it. So during your decision stage, so during the last stage, the 3rd stage, you've come up with 4, 3, however many different escape routes or things to do. So now you have to actually do one of them. That's why we have to do these mental simulations. That's why we have to actually focus on some of these AARs to where we can see, okay, in this situation, this worked, this situation, it didn't work, this person was riding faster in this situation versus that situation, so braking wasn't as good as this one, as that one, maybe you should have swerved. So this is where having many videos or many mental simulations will really prepare you for something, okay? So we came up with a decision during the decide stage. Now we're actually going to act on that decision. So once you complete the execution stage or the act stage, we have to go back to observation and then orientation and then decision and then we're going back to execution. So it's a consistent path where you start from one side and you continuously move. The only time you stop doing this is when you're asleep. So while we're out riding, you need to consistently know where you're at. Then you need to decide if something is going to be in your path of travel or going to be a hazard. If it is, you need to act. And then once you acted and you got past whatever it is, a pothole, a car, or a gum wrapper, a banana peel, whatever it is, and you avoided it, you did whatever you need to do. Now we have to go back to observation because now we have new hazards, new things happening. And once you understand the process, this is very easy. So how can we really practice this? Okay, so you are, like I said, subconsciously doing this every single minute of the day, constantly doing it. But now that we know what it is and how it is, on a very basic terms, we can actually put it into practice, much like how you probably figured out how to do a U-turn or you figured out how to do something on your bike. You don't understand why you're doing it, you just do it. Well, that's because you're doing it subconsciously, but now that you understand that certain thing like a U-turn, how to do it consciously, you understand now if I do this and this and this, it could be better, it could be easier, it could be second nature now with this better technique. So that's what we're doing here with the OODA loop, that's what we're doing with situational awareness, is that at first you might be doing it subconsciously, and now we know how to do it consciously, so now you can actually get better and better and better and better at it, okay? So just like learning the friction zone, it's gonna suck at first, you're gonna be really choppy and not very good, and you're gonna be slow at it, but But the more and more and more you practice, the better and better and better you're gonna get, and it's gonna be like second nature. So I'd like to say thank you to my patrons for making this possible. These classroom sessions were made possible literally by my patrons. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be able to take classes or be able to do this full time, to do all the research that is needed to make classroom topics. So if you'd like to support, please become a patron. It's $2 a month. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys around.